Hello guys, welcome back to Cafe Bagheri. Before I start today, I want to thank you so very much. We've blown past 1,000 subscribers and I couldn't do this without your help and support. Thank you so much for following me and for all of your support, comments, likes, shares. Please continue supporting us, and a lot more great videos are coming. So today I am going to share with you Loobia Polo. Loobia Polo is a Persian saffron rice with tomato and green beans and meat. It's usually made with lamb and or beef. I made it with ground beef today. You're gonna love Loobia Polo. So let's get started cooking this treat. You're gonna love this. So we're gonna prep our green beans and saute it and put it together with onions and meat. Right here, I have snipped and cleaned most of the green beans. Left a few here so we can see how it's done. So we're gonna cut all of our green beans. First you clean it, which is snipping the ends on both ends. This is really a pain doing, but you can pick them up one at a time and do this, right? And throw them on there. But to speed up the process, you can just line them up on one end like this. And I used to watch my mom do this. So look at this. So you get all the ends on one end and then turn them around. You line them up on the other end. Here, there you go. Now we've got all of our beans cleaned up, if you will. Now I'm going to cut all the beans that I've cleaned up and snipped the heads and tails. I'm gonna cut them into 3/4 inch to 1 inch pieces. See, these are the pieces you're going for. About 1 inch to 1/2 inch. So this is our chopped beans. We'll put them aside. Now we're gonna do our onion. I would do a medium white or yellow onion or half a super large onion. This is a sort of a medium onion, and so I'm gonna use all of it, right? Here's what we do. See that? And then this little stub at the end, you just and the longer you do this and the more often you do this, the better you become at it. See that? That's your chopped onion. So the recipe calls for 1 to 2 cloves of garlic. A large clove should do it. So I'm gonna do 2 of these guys. What you do is you put it under your wide chef's knife. And then you cut the ends off, because the little stub at the stem at the end of the garlic clove is what keeps all of the skin and paper on the flesh. We don't really need to mince it. Just finely chop your garlic. It's all gonna be sauteed and sweated together with the onion. So we add it to our onion. Now we're ready to saute everything together to make our stew. The onion and garlic is ready. We have our meat here. We have some tomato paste, green beans. We have a kettle with water at all times. In Persian cooking, this is customary. Have some hot water here available. Whenever you have to add water to your stew, you use hot water from your kettle. The first thing we're gonna do at this point, we're gonna make our saffron solution. The recipe calls for about a 1/4 teaspoon of saffron. As I've always said in my videos, never use saffron threads in your food, especially in your cooking. What you do is you grind the saffron threads and come up with this powder. This recipe calls for about 1/4 teaspoon right there. You put about 1/4 of a cup of hot water and just let it infuse right here. That will be your saffron solution. In Persian cooking, we use that for our rice. We use it in a lot of stews and other things. Now we're going to saute our green beans, right? I have a extra large frying pan. We're gonna put about 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil. We're gonna preheat the oil for about a minute or two. They use the term shimmering. All that means is when you see bubble in an activity, you know your oil is hot. And we're doing hot flames here. We're gonna reduce it to medium high and then saute our beans. See, we can hear the little sizzle. That means. So now we have our chopped green beans on medium high in the vegetable oil. We're gonna do it for 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. When you stir after each cycle, make sure you shake your pan so you will level the green beans and spread them around. While you're cooking the green beans, you can start sauteing your onions and garlic as well as your tomato paste. We have all three of them going here on medium high. This is a small pan. I'm gonna put a tablespoon of oil for sauteing the tomato paste, another 3 tablespoons for onions and garlic. The pan was hot here, so I'm gonna add the onions and the chopped up garlic here. The goal is not to get any kind of color or frying in the onions and garlic. As soon as they're translucent and aromatic, you're done sauteing the onions and garlic. That would be about a total of 6 minutes. So we're adding our tomato paste to the tablespoon of oil. Some people put the tomato paste in the Loobia Polo stew just directly, but experience shows that sauteing the tomato paste and your turmeric together ahead of time gives it a wonderful flavor. So what we are doing is before we add the tomato paste and the turmeric, which is one of the fundamental main ingredients for any Persian stew, we're going to be sauteing our paste and turmeric together. This goes on for about 3-4 minutes. We have sauteed our onions and garlic for about 6 minutes. It's time to add the meat. You can use finely chopped stew meat or beef or lamb. I like ground beef or ground lamb or a mixture of both in my Loobia Polo. Some people use stew meat, but they chop it up real fine in about 1/2-inch pieces. I happen to like ground beef in Loobia Polo because it spreads and mixes real well with the rice and makes a better Loobia Polo. People use a fork, a large fork. I like to use this potato masher to break down the ground beef in the pot to make sure it starts cooking evenly all over. There you go. You do this a couple of times and use the potato masher to kind of mix it around, and that will be the core beginning of your stew. Now we're going to proceed here. So our meat has been sauteing with the onions and garlic for about 15 minutes. As you can see, I'm not after frying them. Just as soon as the meat changes color, indicating it's started to cook, we're going to be done with pre-cooking the meat. Now we're going to add our turmeric laced tomato paste in here and start mixing that. It has to be thoroughly and completely mixed. You shouldn't have any lumps of tomato paste visible, meaning it should lace all of the meat and the meat should have a consistent color. And the temperature is still on medium high. Don't worry, you're not going to burn anything as long as you're stirring and mixing. See what we have? It's kind of like a meat paste. Now you're going to start adding all of your spices, okay? So the turmeric is already in there because we sauteed it with tomato paste. We're going to have our salt, pepper. I add a little cayenne pepper. Some people do, some people don't. I like a little bit of kick in the Loobia Polo. It livens it up and it makes it so much better. And you're going to continue stirring this. We are going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of one of the main ingredients for Loobia Polo, believe it or not, ground cinnamon. I'm going to put about a 1/4 of a teaspoon There you go. That looks about right. We're going to be adjusting and adding cinnamon later when we're right at the end when our stew is about to be ready. And we'll also sprinkle some cinnamon with the rice. Guess what we're going to do now? We're going to start our stew. About 2.5 cups of boiling hot water, because you don't want to put cold or even warm water because it lowers the temperature of what you've already built up. 2.5 cups. Look at that hot water. See? 2 and about 1/2 cup right there. That's how much water we put in there. So now we're going to put all of the blistered green beans, whether you saute your green beans or blanch them, which is boiling and then chilling, you have to pre-cook it and then add it into the stew for Loobia Polo. That way they're more tender and you're going to have a better Loobia Polo at the end. Once you see the boiling, you're going to lower it to medium-low, reduce it to simmer, and keep it going for 35 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to make our Persian rice, the standard process. We have a video on this channel. You can go check it out, Persian saffron rice. So during your 35 minutes of the stew cooking, you need to stir it 2 or 3 times to make sure it gets bothered and mixed. Also, close to the end, put half of your prepared saffron solution, put about half of that in your stew, okay? A little more. The rest will be for the bottom of the rice pot, okay, when we are finishing this thing. So do another stir. We're going to be adding some more hot water shortly and then cooking for another stretch and then mix it with the rice. So we've been simmering our green bean and meat stew for about 35 minutes. We give it another stir and we're going to add 1/2 cup of hot water. Okay, that's about 1/2 cup. And then give it another stir and then we're going to let it simmer for another 20 minutes. So we're in the final stretch of our meat and bean stew, cooking and getting ready to be mixed with the rice. Check this out. We do one more stir. But what you want to do is when you have about 5 to 10 minutes left in that final stretch, you do another stir and then leave the lid ajar. Look at that. So it can reduce. We're letting some of the moisture escape. But you notice I've already started working on my rice. I'm boiling the water to make my Persian rice, which I'll boil, and then once we strain it, we're gonna steam it with the stew together to make our Loobia Polo. So our bean and meat stew is ready. We have cooked and strained our rice. At this point, what you need to see is that our white rice has been cooked and strained and we are ready. At this point, you're thinking, what am I going to put at the bottom of the Loobia Polo, the rice and meat mixture, to get that crunchy tahdig goodness? You know, you can put potatoes, you can put tortillas, you can put flatbreads, lettuce, whatever you can think of. But I actually like just the rice itself crunching up at the bottom, making the rice tahdig. So watch this. So we have started heating up the pot, and I use the same thick bottom and non-stick inside so you make sure your tahdig doesn't stick, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put about 1-4, 1-3 mixture of actual butter. Okay, so 1 part butter and about 3 parts grapeseed oil, because grapeseed oil takes a long time to burn. It has a high smoke point. You get the flavor from butter and you get the oiliness, the greasiness from grapeseed oil. Perfect combination. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tablespoons of grapeseed oil. Remember the rest of our saffron solution, about 1/8 of a cup. That's where it goes now. We're gonna put all of that in here. We're going to add some fresh ground black pepper, some salt, table salt or kosher salt. Put a little touch of cinnamon. Okay, now look at this. Now you have this goodness at the bottom of this pot. You're gonna swirl it around to make sure you get it on the sides about 3-4 inches up. Now we are ready. If you have potatoes or flatbread to lay at the bottom to get that crunchy goodness, this is when you would put it down. But we're only gonna put rice at the bottom. I like that crunchy rice. Check this out. Sprinkle about 1/2 inch of that rice to form that first layer, that bottom layer. See that? That's gonna be your tahdig, okay? Now, we're gonna start layering the stew on the top of rice. As you can see, we still have some liquid, some moisture in the stew, but if you want the bottom especially to be crunchy and dry, you wanna avoid a lot of that liquid. You can use it later as soup or whatever. I have this spider. They use it a lot in Southeast Asian Chinese cooking. So this guy, buy the smallest spider that you can find in the restaurant supply or the store. So you do this and you let as much of the liquid as possible to drip down back into the pot and just start spreading that over that first layer of rice. You're gonna put some more rice in there. I'm gonna use my hands. Now this is when we start adding some aromatics and other exotic flavors. Cinnamon is the common one. Just a slight dusting. You don't want to overwhelm it. Now, this is when people use other aromatics on top of that. I'm not gonna do that tonight. I just want to show you. This is cardamom pods. You can grind this up and put a dusting of ground cardamom. Another thing they do back home, these are dried baby Damascus roses. You can crush up these Damascus roses. As you can see, you can hear as I crush them up, they're very dry and they're baby roses. You can grind them up in a spice grinder or just in your hand and just sprinkle them down there, right? But we're not gonna do that. So a little more of that rice. Now we're gonna layer one more layer of the stew, the green bean and meat stew. Again, I'm gonna let the liquid stay, as much of it as possible, stay in the pot. Okay, one more layer of rice here, or cinnamon, cardamom, roses. Lavender has been known to make a good addition. If you like lavender, you can add it to Loobia Polo actually. One more, we're almost there. The goal is to keep layering. Now I'm gonna get whatever stew I can get out of this. And let me let you in on a little secret. You see this liquid that's left in this pot of Loobia Polo? That's the best soup for tomorrow's lunch. Have some of that soup with flatbread and a little Shirazi salad. Tomorrow's lunch, okay? All right, so this is the final layer, which is the rice that goes on the top. So now we have all of the Loobia Polo stew and rice layered. We're gonna put about 5 to 8 little holes that go all the way, these shafts go all the way down to the bottom of the pot to let the steam to rise from the bottom of the pot to ensure the bottom gets drier and crunchier. That tahdig business I told you about. The second function of these shafts put into the mound of rice is to make sure there's a distribution of that steam and the heat and the rice cooks consistently all through, okay? And then you need some butter on this thing. I'm using about 5-6 tablespoons of butter. There you go. Now we're gonna put this lid back on, put this on medium heat. You wanna make sure you're right in the middle for about 3 to 5 minutes to make sure the bottom starts getting real hot and the moisture in the rice starts rising. The glass lid is very key because you won't have to keep checking or guessing. You can now see how the moisture is forming under the lid. Once the condensation starts dripping down the slope, down the sides, it's time to lower the heat and put a paper towel or cloth, kitchen rag under the lid and seal it, if you will. You put a gasket on there so the steam cannot escape. Then you cook it for 45 minutes. So our 45-minute timer on the Loobia Polo is done. We're gonna put it in a bath of cold water to get the bottom of the pot separated. Okay, bring it out. Make sure we get all the water off of it. You get a serving plate that's bigger than the pot, so you can flip the contents over to the serving plate. So now we're hopeful that we got this right. So our Loobia Polo is ready and we are ready to serve it. I'm gonna take off some of this crunchy rice, put it right here, right there. What goes really well with Loobia Polo is our beloved Shirazi salad. Persian cucumbers, tomatoes, and red onions with a dressing of lime and salt and pepper and a touch of olive oil. By the way, we have a video on our channel for Shirazi salad. Just the acidic taste of this salad goes real well with saffron and turmeric in this dish. Thank you for being with me today. Please make the Loobia Polo, and as always, I like to see the pictures when you make it. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell button so we can keep in touch. And please come back and see me right here at Cafe Bagheri very soon.